The shareholders of Nigeria's largest telco, MTNN Nigeria, yesterday approved plans by the company to cancel unissued ordinary shares of 7.495 billion of 0.02 naira per share, as well as unissued preference shares of 402.590 million units at 0.05 US cents each. The MTNN Nigeria shareholders at a Thursday special meeting, however, asked the management to clarify a few points around the share cancellation process and its operations. Let's listen.
So, I've noticed a multitude of the questions are around the shares. The 1 share for every 20 share that was issued when we did the public offer at the beginning of the year. And I will ask Modupe to respond on those. But before I hand over to him, Modupe is our Executive Director, Chief Financial Officer. Before I hand over to him, I do want to address one point that was made by Madam of Independent Shareholders Association. Forgive me, I didn't write the name down and I've forgotten it. Alaja. Who that is? Ekaro. All right. So just briefly, 2 things which I want to mention before I hand over to our CFO. One is, Alaja, you're right. Our service is at times imperfect. And it's something we keep a very close monitor on. I get myself a lot of personal communications from customers that are dissatisfied. And we have a long way to go. But we are also quite satisfied that in the context of the telecoms market today, when we look at our net promoter scores, which measures customers' experience and their perceptions as well of the experience, we are in the lead. But this doesn't mean that our customer service is satisfactory. So it's something that we're working on multiple facets. One, as you've mentioned, through supervision of the front-facing customer staff. And second, through a very aggressive rollout of points for basic services across the country to ensure that customers can have some of those basic services, such as SIM swap, within, at worst case, 1 kilometer of where they live. So we acknowledge that. The second thing I just want to re-emphasize, and for Mr. Boniface, we are very satisfied, looking backwards, that we've steadily moved forward in terms of the dividend progression of this company, somewhere in the range of 20% or more every year. And it's a continued focus of value creation. Of course, we want our share price to continue to rise and rise. There are many levers to that. Mr. Wu also always gives me monthly advice on not getting too distracted by it. The number of shares in circulation, institutional shareholders that want to take their money in and out of Nigeria, etc., etc. But most important is the company is well governed. Your investment is being looked after. In fact, we just won an award from the NGX as the most compliant listed company on the exchange. So we focus on value creation, and we don't get too much distracted by the volatility of the stock market. But of course, we all, staff included, want that share price to reflect the true value of MTN. So with that, I'll hand over to the best CFO in Nigeria, Modupe, to answer the questions on the shares.
Right. Good morning, esteemed shareholders. I think the question is direct. This exercise we're embarking on in cancelling the unissued shares is not going to affect that punishment, that promise that we made. And the reason is simple. The primary offer exercise or process was for the majority shareholder to sell down their interest, which we've done the Series 1. And the commitment or the promise was that every shareholder, for every 20 shares held for a period of 1 year, after the SEC approved the allotment, then they would get a bonus share up to a maximum of 250. So that commitment is there. The MTN Group, the majority shareholder, there's also a process ongoing with the registrars, such that on the anniversary of that allotment, we'll determine how many people are qualified, and then the process of crediting the CSCS accounts would take place. So that commitment is intact, and it doesn't affect this exercise. On the second question, which has to do with how much is it going to cost us in cancelling these shares, well, simply put, it's not going to cost us anything. And like the shareholders mentioned earlier in their comments, if we don't do it, it will actually cost you. because you have a penalty. So the unissued share capital is going to be cancelled if this meeting approves that, and then we will then proceed.